Welcome to the Season 4 Mythic Plus Guide to Mistweaver. My name is LB Ninja7, your resident Mistweaver monk, and let's get into it. For starters, the stat priority that you want to shoot for is Intellect, then Haste, then Versatility, then Crit, and as little mastery as you can get. Intellect buffs all of your power, and Haste allows us to be more reactive and cast more spells during our main cooldown Chiji, but also has the added bonus of reducing the cooldown of one of our major rotational spells, Rising Sun Kick. Versatility scales up our healing and damage, but also our survivability, and crit is just excellent for our healing and damage. Next, we move on to our talent tree, which will be in the description below, but let's start off with the monk tree. This tree is jam-packed with utility and defensives. For crowd control, we already have an AoE stun called Leg Sweep, but the monk tree adds Ring of Peace, which is a circle that boops everything out from the center of it, and it also gives us paralysis and a 15-second cooldown melee interrupt in Spear Hand Strike. In terms of defensive utility, you have powerful passives that make you more durable, like Calming Presence, which just gives us flat mitigation, as well as Bounce Back, which makes you tankier after you take significant damage, helping you protect from 2 shots or rot damage. There are also 3 active mitigation buttons that you gain from this tree, being Diffuse Magic, a 60% magic damage mitigation that also comes with the benefit of removing magical debuffs like Deep Chill and Halls of Infusion. Dampen Harm is a short cooldown defensive that mitigates a larger percentage of damage the larger the damage is. And finally, Fortifying Brew is a catch-all defensive, giving you a max health boost and a 20% damage mitigation at the same time. This tree also buffs your self-heal button, Expel Harm, which is an incredibly reliable way to take you from low health back up to a safe percentage, and should be pressed anytime you take sizable damage. But we can finally move over to the Mistweaver tree, which houses a lot of our core abilities and synergies that I'll break down for you. There are 2 clusters of synergies that we play around mainly. First, the punching and kicking cluster that will do a large majority of our healing, and then we have the spot healing synergy cluster that utilizes our large spot heals in conjunction with the free hots that our punching and kicking will be generating to do massive healing and allow us to get back into our punching and kicking rotation more often. Now let's actually start off with our base spells and break those down before we jump into these rotations and synergies. And I always find it best to start off with our damaging spells, since that's where a majority of our healing actually comes from. So we have 4 primary damage spells that make up our main rotation. Spinning Crane Kick is an AoE damaging kick that does the most amount of damage when we have 5+ targets to hit. The other 3 damaging spells are our single target damaging buttons. Tiger Palm, which is a quick punch that doesn't do a ton of damage on its own. Then we have Blackout Kick that does a bit more single target damage. And then Rising Sun Kick that does a large single target slam of damage. Blackout Kick though is pretty important since it has a chance to completely reset the cooldown of Rising Sun Kick. Tiger Palm is also important because it has the added benefit of every time you press it, you'll gain a stack up to 4 stacks, making your next Blackout Kick hit an additional time. So with a full 4 stacks, your next Blackout Kick will hit 5 times total. We also have some healing spells that are very important to understand. First off, Vivify is our most basic healing spell, as it just does a big spot heal to its target. Renewing Mist is a small ticking heal over time that lasts 20 seconds, but will jump to an ally that needs healing if it tries to heal someone that's already full health. Enveloping Mist is a much stronger heal over time that also comes with the benefit of buffing all healing that you do to its target by 40%, but it only lasts 6 seconds and has the drawback of taking a long time to cast. And finally, you have Soothing Mist, which is a heal over time that you have to channel into its target. We don't press this button too often in Mythic Plus, since doing so would remove us from our punching and kicking rotation for too long. However, sometimes it's necessary. Plus, Soothing Mist also comes with a pretty cool effect that makes your Enveloping Mists and Vivifies instant cast as long as you're channeling Soothing Mist on their target. Those are all the base spells though, so let's talk about how they all come together with the talents that we have chosen. It's always important to understand the damage rotation as this healing spec, since a large majority of your healing actually comes from the damage that you do. And this is because of the two talents, Ancient Teachings and Awakened Jadefire. Ancient Teachings is a buff that you get for 15 seconds that makes your 3 single target damaging spells now also heal your allies by 150% of the damage that they do. This 150% of the damage done is split evenly among 5 injured allies, which means that if only one ally needs healing and you Rising Sun Kick for 100,000 damage, that ally will take 150,000 as healing. But if all 5 allies are missing health and you Rising Sun Kick for 100,000 damage, all 5 allies will take 30,000 healing. Awakened Jadefire is a passive that you have while you're standing on your Jadefire stomp that makes your spinning crane kicks heal up to 3 allies for 70% of its damage. So as long as you have 3 allies nearby, they will take 70% of your spinning crane kicks damage as healing, making it do 210% of its damage total as healing across those 3 players. Now, both of these passives are incredible, and you should always have them active. I'm talking 100% uptime for each of them, so your damage spells always do healing. And 100% uptime might sound crazy, but this is actually pretty easy to do, since both passives come from pressing the same button, Jadefire Stomp. This button is the absolute heart and soul of this playstyle since it buffs you in so many different ways, so I can't stress enough how important it is to press it enough to maintain at least these buffs and to always fight on top of it. So what is Jadefire Stomp? Well, it's a line that you shoot out that persists on the ground for 30 seconds. It will heal any allies that you shoot it through, as well as damage up to 5 enemies that you also shoot it through. This does significant healing and damage, so you want to try to maximize the number of targets that you're hitting each time you cast it. This spell does have a 20-second cooldown though, so don't reapply it right before a pack dies or you'll move to the next pack without all of your superpowers. However, to avoid this, as long as you're standing on your Jadefire Stomp, any spells that you cast will have a 12% chance to completely reset its cooldown. On top of giving you the 2 buffs required to make your damaging spells heal, it also buffs those damaging spells as long as you're on top of the Jadefire Stomp. I hope by now I've drilled it into your head to always play on top of your Jadefire Stomp because you are literally Super Saiyan while you're on top of it. But the way that it buffs your damaging spells is by making your Tiger Palms hit twice. It makes your blackout kicks also cleave and hit 3 targets instead of the normal 1 target. And obviously I've already mentioned spinning crane kick and how it makes your spinning crane kicks heal. Now it doesn't directly buff your Rising Sun Kick like it does the other spells, but it does turn your blackout kick's normal 15% chance to reset Rising Sun Kick's cooldown into a 25% chance, meaning that you'll be able to get a lot more Rising Sun Kicks off as long as, once again, you play on your Jadefire Stomp. Just as Jadefire Stomp is the key to accessing your Super Saiyan mode, Rising Sun Kick is the engine that continuously keeps your heals flowing. This is true due to 2 talents primarily, Rapid Diffusion and Rising Mists. Rapid Diffusion says that every time that you either Rising Sun Kick or cast Enveloping Mist, it will always come with a free 6-second Renewing Mist on one of your allies. Rising Mist says that anytime you Rising Sun Kick, you're going to extend all of the HOTS that you have out on all of your allies by 4 seconds. Now this can't extend them indefinitely, it can only double their duration, but as long as you're Rising Sun Kicking often, you'll be able to double the duration of all of your HOTS. So let's talk about how you can do that by talking about the damage rotation. For 5+ targets, if you care only about either doing the most damage or the most healing at the current moment, then you can do the very simple rotation of Jadefire Stomping whenever you get that cooldown reset, and then spamming Spinning Crane Kick to fill the open gaps, as this will do the most damage and thus the most healing at 5+ targets. However, if you're either at 1 to 4 targets, or maybe you're at a 5+ target scenario and care more about your future healing than your present healing, then you'll want to do what we call our single target damage rotation, which does the most damage and healing at 1 to 4 targets, but can also be the right choice at 5+ targets if you need to cycle Rising Sun Kicks to set up your future healing with the free renewing mists and hot extensions that come along with pressing that button. This rotation is a bit more nuanced than the other one, but it looks like this. You're going to Jadefire Stomp to keep the buff active or any time that you get the reset of its cooldown. And then you're going to do the same thing with Rising Sun Kick, pressing this button whenever you get those resets or whenever it comes off cooldown. After that, you're going to Blackout Kick if your last global cooldown was spent Rising Sun Kicking for a small chance to fully reset the cooldown of the Rising Sun Kick, which would be a massive reward. But if you don't get that instant reset with that Blackout Kick, then you're going to Tiger Palm, Blackout Kick for a larger chance of resetting Rising Sun Kick, and then you start the rotation from the top. Now, like I said, this rotation will carry most of the healing in a dungeon, but every now and then you'll need to spot heal your allies. This is where having a high number of renewing mists for free at all times will shine, and make the time that you waste while spot healing a lot shorter. That way you can get back into the action of your damage rotation. For starters, if one of your allies just needs a minor spot heal, you can cast Vivify on them. You're going to be able to cast an instant Vivify once every 10 seconds thanks to the talent Vivacious Vivification. So that can really help the fluidity of the playstyle a ton. And although Vivify just is a spot heal on that one ally, thanks to the talent Invigorating Mists, it will also do a spot heal on any allies that have an active Renewing Mist on them. This healing seriously adds up over a dungeon, so execute your damage rotation well enough to keep your Renewing Mist count high at all times, and that'll allow your Vivify to heal more targets every time that you press that button. But that's only if your ally needs one Vivify's worth of healing. What if they need more than one Vivify? This is where the other spot healing spells can come into play. If you ever have to cast more than just one spell into a single ally, this is when we use Soothing Mist. You can channel Soothing Mist into them to cast a few Vivifies to top them up very quickly, or you can channel Soothing Mist, cast an Enveloping Mist, and then cast Vivifies until they're topped off if you have enough time to cast that Enveloping Mist without them dying. And we're going to add another layer on top of that in case you need even more healing, because all of these methods of spot healing get enhanced due to our tier set bonus. Now, I haven't really brought this up yet since it just gains value in the background in Mythic Plus until you actually use it to boost your spot healing. So the tier set says that whenever you apply a Renewing Mist to a target, whether that be one of your 2 Renewing Mist charges or by the talent Rapid Diffusion, they will also gain a buff called Chi Harmony. What Chi Harmony does is it buffs all the healing done to that target from you by 50%. Yes, 50%, a massive boost. The 4-piece also makes a lot of healing happen in the background, but it's not really worth playing around in a Mythic Plus environment. This means that if we have some time to apply a Renewing Mist to an ally before they start to need the spot healing, we can increase all that spot healing done to them by 50% by just simply applying a Renewing Mist to them. So use a Renewing Mist before you channel your Soothing Mist for a massive healing boost. Now that we've discussed the basic damage and spot healing rotations, we can finally talk about the major cooldowns that Mistweavers have. And the first one that we have to talk about is Revival. And although this is a 3-minute cooldown, it's honestly the least effective healing cooldown that we have in Mythic Plus. How it works is right once you press Revival, it's going to instantly heal all allies, and it's going to remove all poison, disease, and magic debuffs from them. The healing is nice in a pinch, but the spell gains most of its value when you both need healing and to remove debuffs from all allies. For example, pressing it right after Deep Chill goes off in Halls of Infusion can give you insane value. Your other 2 main cooldowns are your bread and butter ones because they have very low cooldowns and can be cycled together very fluidly. Shayloon's Gift is the first of the two, and this is a spot heal cast that also heals 4 allies when you cast it. So if your target dies while casting it on them, then no one gets healing, the cast will be cancelled. But if the cast finishes, that person will receive a massive spot heal, and then the other 4 members of your party will receive also a massive spot heal, just a little bit less than your actual initial target. Now this spell doesn't necessarily have a cooldown per se, but instead every 4 seconds while you're in combat, it's going to gain a stack. And it can gain up to 10 total stacks. And it's going to do more healing based on how many stacks it consumes when you cast it. So if you cast it while you've only been in combat for 12 seconds, it's going to be at 3 stacks and barely do any healing. However, if you cast it at 7 to 10 stacks after being in combat for 28 to 40 seconds, it's going to do a massive spot heal to your whole party, and it has a bonus of only having a 28 to 40 second cooldown. Finally, we have our biggest throughput cooldown, which is Chiji. Chiji is a 1-minute cooldown that summons a crane to fight alongside us for 12 seconds. And it also shields all allies as soon as it's summoned. The shield makes it great to press before incoming big slams happen to the party, but Chiji really relies on us to do certain things, press certain buttons while it's out, in order for it to do any healing. While Chiji is out, any time that you do any of your 3 kicks, so Rising Sun Kick, Blackout Kick, and Spinning Crane Kick, you're going to kick up 2 mastery procs that spot heal your allies. Once again, we are not stacking mastery. We're not putting a lot of points into mastery because this is really the only value that mastery gets. But these mastery proc heals do add up even if you don't have any gear that gives you mastery. Also, with every kick that you hit, your next Enveloping Mist will cost a third less mana and take a third less time to cast. So if you do 3 kicks while Chiji is out, your next Enveloping Mist will be instant cast and cost no mana. Plus, every time that you cast an Enveloping Mist while Chiji is out, it's going to splash a hot on them and 4 other allies nearby them that heals them for a small amount over 7 seconds, but it also boosts all healing they receive from you by 10%. Therefore, the rotation that you execute while Chiji is out should look like this. You're going to hit 3 kicks and then cast an instant Enveloping Mist on an ally, and then rinse and repeat until Chiji actually disappears. But what makes this spell so powerful and adaptable to almost any situation is that there are so many different ways that we can get to 3 stacks of its kicks. Starting from the most simple way is if you're doing a massive AoE pool, like at the start of Algathar Academy, you can Spinning Crane Kick 3 times and then Enveloping Mist, and then rinse and repeat that simple rotation. This will lean a bit more heavily on the healing that Spinning Crane Kick does rather than the healing that Chiji does, but it still gets a fair amount of value from Chiji. You can also utilize the fact that Blackout Kick hits 3 targets while on your Jadefire Stomp to quickly coat the party in Enveloping Mists, doing explosive amounts of healing simply by just pressing Blackout Kick, Enveloping Mist, Blackout Kick, Enveloping Mist. Or if you wanted to extend the value that Chiji gives you beyond its 12-second duration, just squeeze in a Rising Sun Kick after each Enveloping Mist to extend the hots with Rising Mist. And finally, if you have a single target like a boss fight or something, you can Tiger Palm, Rising Sun Kick, and Blackout Kick, since that Tiger Palm is going to hit twice. And then just rinse and repeat that sequence. Like I said, there are so many different ways to mix and match all of these rotations, so finding out how to maximize your Chiji in the moment will be the biggest indicator of skill. However, there is one rule that you should always follow when using Chiji, and that is to make sure that you have 4 stacks of your Blackout Kick charged and ready to go before summoning Chiji. That way you're going to unleash a flurry of kicks as soon as you summon Chiji and get a machine gun of mastery procs right off the rip. Now there are some other buttons worth mentioning, and I'll start with Life Cocoon. This is an amazing and versatile tool, so get used to using it often since it has a short cooldown. All it does is applies a massive shield to one of your allies and puts your hots on them. Use this on your tank before big pools or on one of your DPS to quickly save their life. Next up is Thunder Focus Tea. Now, this spell can buff your next spell in a few different ways, but we only really use this buff modifier to buff our next Rising Sun kick, with some other very niche uses on Enveloping Mist and Expel Harm. What happens when you press Thunder Focus Tea is it modifies your next spell. So in our case, it's going to modify our next Rising Sun kick, making it now only have a 1-second cooldown, letting you get 2 off in very quick succession. You can also use it to make Enveloping Mist instant cast, or to buff Expel Harm, making it also give us a small shield. You only really use it on Expel Harm in higher keys before big one-shot mechanics to allow yourself to survive them if it's necessary to do so. But you can use it on Enveloping Mist when used in conjunction with another spell that I want to discuss called Zen Pulse. Zen Pulse is a small spot heal button that we can press once every 30 seconds, but whoever you cast it on will pulse out AoE damage around them. Thus, we primarily press this on our tank. If you have an Enveloping Mist active on your Zen Pulse target, then it's going to pulse a second time for 80% of its normal damage. You only really use Thunder Focus Tea in this way to buff an Enveloping Mist if you just want a quick application of Enveloping Mist before Zen Pulsing the tank for minor AoE damage. Otherwise, it's totally fine to just hard cast Enveloping Mist before Zen Pulsing because it can add up some big AoE smacks. And the final spell that I want to mention is Chi Burst. Chi Burst shoots a line that damages enemies and heals allies, but honestly, it's a very small amount of damage and healing. However, the only reason we use this button is because it's coded pretty weirdly. As you should know by now, you want your Jadefire stomp off cooldown before moving into the next pack. But every now and then you're going to get pretty unlucky and not get that cooldown to reset in time. And since every button that we press has an equal 12% chance to reset Jadefire stomp's cooldown, this happens actually pretty frequently, unfortunately. But that's where Chi Burst comes in. It flips that 12% chance not just when you press the button, but also it'll do an additional 12% coin flip each time that it passes through an ally or an enemy. So make sure that you're standing on your Jadefire Stomp and shoot Chi Burst toward the next pack through as many allies and enemies as possible for the best chance of resetting your Jadefire Stomp's cooldown. But guys, that's every bit of Mistweaver knowledge that I can squeeze into this guide. So if you have any further questions or just want to see this play out in action, then subscribe to the channel and go follow me on Twitch. I stream Mistweaver keys on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and I love talking to my chat and answering any questions that you guys might have. Also, make sure and like this video if it helped you at all. That way YouTube knows to show it to more people. And finally, I want to give a thank you to the patrons of this channel, because without them, I wouldn't be able to live out my dream of becoming a content creator. So thank you guys so much if your name is on the screen. But if you want to join them, then check out that Patreon link down in the description below. Thank you so much for watching this video and showing me so much support. I'll see you guys in the next video. Now go smash those keys.